Okay, greetings everyone from Stoic Ancient. This is my first time sharing about how to communicate and integrate into society. Like my previous content, it's all very practical, especially for young people just starting out in life. This content is divided into 3 parts. Part 1, making friends and finding your place. Part 2, marriage and career orientation. And Part 3, how to work and the art of gift giving. This is Part 2. You can find the previous part on the channel's homepage or below in the video's comments. I know your lives are busy, but what I'm saying isn't easy to absorb. It's especially hard to grasp if you only listen once. My advice? Watch until the end. Listen repeatedly whenever you're free or doing housework. Please share and save the playlist for your convenience. I assure you, in just a few short months, your thinking will leap to a new level. In a person's life, before the age of 40, there are 4 major turning points: education, career, marriage, and choosing a profession. When it comes to studying in university, there's not much to discuss. Except for choosing a major, you might have a little say, but mostly it's arranged by your parents, or you're not able to choose for yourself. What you can control are the skills you learn. If you acquire good skills or master skills that few others have, it will greatly benefit your future development. The problem is, at this stage, not many young people are willing to put in the effort. At this age, people aren't mature enough. They don't think about planning for the future. When they reach 30 or 40, young people in their teens and 20s don't have much to worry about. They only care about passing exams, having fun, dating, making friends, and sleeping. They find time too short. How can they have enough energy to learn skills seriously? Take the example of an electrical engineering student. In the end, very few truly master microchip technology or can follow the lecturer to design and complete experiments. These people, when they graduate, become highly paid talents. But the problem is, to become one of those few, you have to pay a very high price in sweat and effort. Anyone who studies this field understands that. As for which skills are good, it's hard to compare. The income of an academician from the Academy of Science isn't necessarily higher than that of a carpenter who apprentices for 5 years and becomes a construction foreman. In general, I think that whether you attend a top university or not isn't as important as choosing the right major. A good major will open up a wide path in society, while a little-known major at a top university will make it difficult to go far in society. For example, the archaeology major at the University of Social Sciences and Humanities, you get my drift? Choosing or learning a skill is the first turning point in your life. However, very few people can grasp this turning point, mainly because they lack the age and experience. If you have clueless parents, you might stray from a broad and bright road to a narrow and thorny one. Even worse, this situation happens too often. So, when your younger brother or sister reaches this turning point, don't forget to help them, especially before the age of 25. This turning point is still within your control. A very important point when choosing a major that many people overlook is that before choosing a major, the first thing isn't whether that major is hot or easy to find a job, but the first thing to do is to consider all the relationships in your family. Seek out all your close relatives. See who among them has power or status, what fields they're working in, and see if you can rely on them. If so, choose a major that you can develop under their support. For example, if a relative of yours is the vice director of a large shipyard, analyze whether they can maintain that position for the next 4 to 5 years, what unforeseen events might occur. These things may sound cruel, but there's no other way. You must analyze them coldly. If there's a possibility of relying on them, choose a traditional or similar manufacturing major. Finding a job and developing later will be much easier. Getting a job is also a major turning point. Some people study for a master's or doctoral degree, follow trends created by society, and only start working at 33, getting just an average job. But when you look back, the boy next door dropped out of school at 17, went out into the world to make a living, drove for the boss of a garment factory for a few years, and thanks to his intelligence and hard work, learned some tricks of the garment trade, then returned to his hometown to open a small garment factory. Now he has a car, a house, a wife, and children. You tell me, studying for so many years, the cost and time spent are too great. In the end, even if successful, you can't make up for the best years of your youth. If you're not successful, your life is ruined. It's too big of a gamble. So, I strongly advise that for people with average intelligence, you should stop studying at just the right level and start working early. Opportunities in society are far more numerous than pouring all your energy into studying in an ivory tower. No matter how bad your current job is, as long as you try, there will definitely be opportunities for success. Of course, if you don't make an effort and the results aren't good, don't blame me. I advise you not to gamble if you have that great enthusiasm and determination. Outside of society, you can also achieve something. Working early will help you seize more opportunities, but you need to handle it according to your specific situation and family circumstances. Marriage is a turning point that many people easily overlook, but in reality, it's a very important turning point. I hope everyone, during their university years, when feelings are still innocent, will date. At least experience first love. Don't let that stage pass by with only unrequited love. Because first love, although beautiful, is truly the most foolish. Neither of you has any real thoughts about the future, it's purely for love. This may be a beautiful topic in literature, something for you to reminisce about when you're old. But if you consider it a prerequisite for marriage, then it's definitely a mistake. It's not to rule out that some people succeed the first time and have a happy married life, but the probability is very small. It's very simple because first love doesn't have a profit motive. But I want to teach you that marriage needs to have a profit motive. It's an opportunity for you to change your life in a practical way, or at least an opportunity to have a happy life. Surely many people will object to me, saying that if that's the case, what's the point of love and marriage anymore? You're destroying the rare good things in life. But on the contrary, I'm teaching you how to have a truly happy and beautiful marriage. When I talk about practicality in marriage, I'm not only referring to the economic aspect, but also including the spiritual aspect. Hundreds of years ago, people valued matching family backgrounds in marriage. Hundreds of years later, this matching hasn't become outdated. On the contrary, we need to add to its spiritual values, such as matching education, awareness, and level of schooling. This isn't to discriminate against farmers, but to be realistic. Can a woman with broad knowledge be happy in marriage with a farmer who dropped out of school at a young age to work in the fields? If so, that's a story in a movie, it's art. In reality, it definitely doesn't bring happiness. Everyone knows why. On this foundation, when the difference in quality between two people is too great, I won't say it's 100%, but at least in most cases, there will be regret. So, finding a partner with a similar spirit to yourself is reasonable. I want to emphasize the economic aspect, but I can't explain it in detail, you need to contemplate it yourself. Nothing is difficult, only people without strategies. What you can achieve in this society depends on whether you're decisive enough, whether it's towards others or towards yourself. I can only say that if you can find someone that you both love, who has the same level of spirit, and can bring you endless potential for development or real benefits, then that's wonderful. As for what adjectives in this sentence can be removed, you decide for yourself. For those who are cold, think more about the turning points in life. As for those who are kind, we should still find a good wife, a good husband's family. There's no need to be extreme, but you shouldn't just look at the appearance of a poor but handsome boy or a poor but beautiful girl. This turning point is extremely important. Keep that in mind. Choosing a profession is also a major turning point. Unlike working, most of the time we're forced to work in jobs that we don't like, to communicate with people that we don't like. But when an opportunity outside appears before your eyes, you have the right to choose. That's choosing a profession. Many people may encounter this turning point. When choosing a profession, refer to the previous part that I shared. In short, the turning points that I mentioned aren't the only things in life, but they're points that you can control. If you consider being born into a wealthy family a turning point, that's not wrong, but it doesn't have any meaning. These kinds of turning points aren't unique either. For example, you may have many opportunities to choose a profession. So, if you miss a few turning points, don't worry too much. Life is long and broad, you'll definitely make mistakes a few times. Learn from the lessons and listen to the reminders so you can walk on an increasingly broader path. Health is the top priority, and almost everyone agrees with this statement. But in reality, I find that almost everyone more or less doesn't cherish their health. I don't want to talk too much about this topic. I just want to remind you once again, very seriously, that don't use the first 4 years of your life to trade health for money, and then use money to buy back health. Without health, the quality of your life will be gone. I advise you to think at least once a day about how healthy you are and feel happy about it. Don't give the excuse that if you don't do something, the outcome will be very bad. In life, just one time lying on a hospital bed, your whole outlook on life will greatly change. Learn to put yourself in other people's shoes. If you often have this attitude, you'll learn how to be tolerant. Tolerance will expand your heart and make you have a special temperament. You often complain that the boss is too strict, friends aren't fair, but you never ask yourself that if you were the boss or that person, what would you do? Don't say things like, if I were the boss, I would pay employees more and give them more vacation. Think carefully and ask yourself, if you were the boss, you might be even harsher. If you were someone else, you might be even worse than them. Thinking like that often will help you gradually soothe many angers, understand the needs and characteristics of others, thereby giving a more reasonable attitude to treat them. Understanding will help you have more good friends, and in long-term cooperation, it will help you score points in everyone's eyes. But sometimes, even after putting yourself in other people's shoes, you still find that the other party is too much and unreasonable. Then why hesitate? Respond more strongly. Understanding doesn't mean always yielding. In social reality, a person only gets a good evaluation of their personality but often doesn't succeed in society. A little toughness will help you raise your position in your circle of relationships. This is also a subtle psychological factor that I'll explain more clearly. Evaluate everything from the worst-case perspective. No matter what you do, you should think about the worst possible outcome first. This will help you reduce overly high expectations of success and reduce the feeling of failure when things don't go as planned. It also helps you analyze the process more soberly, avoiding being affected by overestimating your abilities. And when you think like that, even if you fail, you'll still have a feeling of grasping the situation, raising your overall vision. Take an example, when you invest money in the stock market or business, subjectively, you should treat that money as non-existent. When calculating assets, don't treat the value of securities as something that's already definitely in hand. When calculating the value of an asset, you should make the most conservative estimates and not include any uncertain values, unless you can immediately convert it into cash. Otherwise, you'll never know its true value tomorrow. Within a most objective limit, maintain a cautious attitude towards your own advantages and exaggerate the difficulties that may be encountered. This will help you prepare more carefully and make every effort to overcome them. If you make this a habit, you'll reap tremendous benefits. You need to be wary of opportunities that look too good to be true. Imagine a country that has experienced economic and social changes for decades, from the 50s and 60s with basic equality to the 70s with signs of change, the 80s with the pioneers who got rich first, and the 90s with prosperity from correct policies. Those who accumulated capital early on have now become giant corporations, those who hold the majority of wealth, or those who have murky relationships between the government and businesses. In the current context, when assets have been divided, social classes have formed, and the social order and rules of the game have been established, do you still dream of getting rich overnight? Based on this logic, for those at the bottom of society, opportunities that look perfect are often unreliable. The pie falling from the sky type of events can't be said to be 100%, but at least 90% have traps. Think carefully. In this society, who has an obligation to help you unconditionally? Helping others, if any, only occurs when the helper reaches a certain ethical state and receives a feeling of spiritual comfort. In this world, there's no such thing as purely helping without any conditions attached. Saying that doesn't mean I want to deny every opportunity. I just want to remind you that when facing opportunities that look amazing, you need to open your eyes wide, think in reverse, and put yourself in the position of the opportunity giver to see what their purpose is. Consider all the deviations that may occur with that opportunity, then act decisively. For example, do you easily believe that casinos in other countries have no one manipulating them? Do you easily believe that your business partner suddenly calls and says that they have a cheap shipment they want to sell to you without anything behind it? Do you easily believe that an employee under your command sincerely says that you're too tired and need to rest? Do you easily believe that the friend at the banquet promises to lend you all the money you need? Do you easily believe that a soy sauce store suddenly has a promotion with a grand prize of 1 million in cash? Things like that. If you calmly think and directly check, you'll discover the real opportunity hidden behind these layers of bubbles. Many people don't understand clearly how wealth in these countries is transformed and accumulated. I can tell you that the system for ordinary people currently is quite complete and almost eliminates the possibility of getting rich suddenly in a legal way. However, if you've accumulated a significant amount of money, such as 100 million, thanks to relationships, experience, and legal or illegal tricks, you can easily double that amount. If you feel that earning money is reaching a threshold, then at this stage, talking about the system no longer has meaning, only human factors, loyalty, and feelings remain. Everything I've said is only aimed at foreign countries. If there's a coincidence, it's just random. Don't try to please everyone. That's the most foolish thing to do. Surprisingly, there are many people in society who want to achieve this. The reality is that pleasing everyone is impossible. In real society, conflicts always exist everywhere, from schools, workplaces, community organizations, even in families. Conflicts can be deep or shallow, but they're always present. Trying to please everyone requires you to spend a large amount of time and energy on an impossible task. Moreover, pleasing everyone means that your relationship with everyone is normal, nothing special. The only benefit you can achieve is frivolous awards like role model or charity ambassador. But even these awards don't bring real benefits. On the contrary, if you have one or two enemies in a group, you can easily receive more benefits, such as more respect and closer friendships. This is due to human nature. When someone in a group appears strong, even has some unreasonable actions, they can still receive more support. However, this toughness shouldn't be pushed to an excessive level, because if it's too excessive, it will be counterproductive. How to find the balance in such extreme situations? I suggest you can follow these methods. Hate those that everyone hates and love those that everyone loves. This is the most common method. Choose the right group or team with potential, especially when you have to stand between two people that you can't afford to offend. Make a bet once. Maintain a neutral attitude, not siding with anyone. Some people think that this will offend both sides, but that's not really the case. Offending both sides only occurs during periods of intense conflict. In the long run, whichever side wins, you'll benefit, but this method requires you to have high skills, because trying to stand neutral without being skillful will lead to bad results. I've listed possible methods, and they aren't the only options. You can freely combine them according to specific situations. No relationship is eternal, only benefits are eternal. What attitude should you have towards money? We often see on TV shows, magazines, and newspapers that people are educated on how to treat money. They often encourage people to despise money, raise the spirit to a more noble realm, but in society there are no such teachings. Society won't say how important money is or isn't. It shows you with countless realities that money is your second most loyal friend in this world. The first loyal friend is your dog. As long as you're still breathing, your bank card won't abandon you to go find someone else. That's the attitude of money towards you, so how should you treat money? Right from the first step when entering society, you must always maintain a greedy attitude towards money. This is one of your strongest motivations. It's hard to imagine someone who's indifferent to money being able to become a holder of huge assets. Always craving money will make you think more sharply, act more quickly, and make more accurate decisions, helping you accumulate more. In every situation, never lose your interest in money and don't sacrifice it in vain. There's only one thing when encountering a robber with a knife or gun. If the money on you isn't worth risking your life for, then obediently hand over the money and property to them. Many young people with a boiling spirit may not understand this and think that if everyone is like you, it will add to the arrogance of the bad guys, and where will this society go? But I never raised this issue to such a high level. I just want to tell you that if you want to live a long and comfortable life, it's not worth risking your life with such people. As for whether you're inadvertently helping them, that's not a big deal. Think about it, if there's a better path, how many people want to go robbing and stealing? Death only comes once, and I hope that in the end you can leave in peace, surrounded by your loved ones. Not every effort will be rewarded. This is truly a truth. Don't think that you've put in how much then you'll get back that much. That's just theory. When you're young in this society, even if you've shed so much sweat and tears, sometimes you still have to face being empty-handed. This feeling of disappointment and heartbreak, I believe everyone has experienced it, but please don't cry, because those tears only leave a salty taste on the tip of your tongue. I remember a detail in Go matches. When a player never shows disappointment or joy immediately after winning or losing, instead they calmly reassess the match. What I want to say here is that before you put in effort, you need to understand that there won't always be a reward. When you know the result, look back at the process, learn from experience, and be ready to start over. You may think that you've achieved nothing, but in reality, in the process of making an effort, you've received a lot, at least spiritually. Train yourself to be a commander who's calm in the face of victory or defeat, but also a special forces soldier who's cautious and meticulous when facing every situation. How to become an excellent strategic investor. What's the most important thing for an investor? It's not the method of making money. The most important thing for an investor is vision. Even if you're someone who knows absolutely nothing about making money, as long as you invest in the right person, you can also receive significant profits. Similarly, even if you're someone who lives simply, doesn't earn much money, you can still become a talented strategic investor. Here, I'm not only referring to financial investment, but also talking about a more potential form of strategic human resource investment. For example, a neighbor named Vong Tam, an entrepreneur who quickly became a millionaire thanks to his business methods. However, unfortunately, he became addicted to gambling and lost all his assets in just a few years. Those around him who once flattered him now alienated him. In the most difficult time, he even had to borrow $300,000 to buy rice. When looking into Vong Tam's ashamed eyes, would you lend him money? Lending or not lending can both be mistakes. Before answering this question, you need to analyze Vong Tam's current situation carefully. Currently, there's no doubt that Vong Tam is at the most difficult stage of his life. But the skills that he's trained from the business world haven't been lost. If there's a suitable opportunity, restoring his career isn't impossible. The main problem currently is whether Vong Tam is determined to give up gambling or not. When facing the question of whether to lend Vong Tam money or not, you don't need to rush to answer immediately. Instead, invite him home, prepare some dishes, and drink a few glasses together. After a few glasses of wine, Vong Tam may be moved and tell you everything, and you can also find out that he hasn't been to the casino in the past few months. The few $100,000 that he wants to borrow this time isn't to buy rice, but to have enough money to buy a bus ticket to go to the south. Vong Tam still has some connections in the south, and this time he wants to escape from his current life. You've been friendly and caring to him, and finally you decide to lend him $1 million, at the same time making it clear that this money is for him to use, whether it's to gamble or as travel expenses, it all depends on him. Anyway, I'll just consider it helping a friend. Hearing these words, Vong Tam can't help but be moved. If he doesn't succeed, then so be it, but once he succeeds, wouldn't you be getting on the fast train to wealth? This $1 million is a risky strategic investment. Analyzing Vong Tam's situation is an investment evaluation process. Inviting him home for drinks, probing emotions, and learning more is a form of field survey. If you often make investments like this, I assure you that your chances of winning the lottery are much higher than buying lottery tickets. This example seems large and perhaps some of you can't understand it immediately, so I'll give a few smaller examples in life. For example, in your company there's someone who always wants to jump ship and is truly talented. Take advantage of the boss hating him and everyone around alienating him. You can invest emotionally appropriately. Try it. This is very simple because people in such situations often assume that they can distinguish who their real friends are. When you approach him at this time, you'll definitely become a real friend. Just a little emotional investment, you can have an almost lifelong friend. If after jumping ship he succeeds, he'll never forget you. Even if he doesn't succeed, besides having an extra close friend, you don't lose anything. Similarly, in class, when there are children from rural areas or poor families, if you care about them when others look down on or ridicule them, their repayment to you will surprise you. Need more examples? I think everyone has understood what I mean, and all that's missing is practice. Always remember that adding flowers on brocade can be done by anyone, but delivering coal in the snow is truly difficult. But coal isn't given for free, you need to analyze it carefully, and only when there's a basis for believing that you'll receive repayment should you help. Look at society. When people donate to poor children, everyone likes to donate to smart kids. But why aren't poor kids who do poorly in school helped as much? Among them, it's not because they don't try, it's just that they can't keep up with others on the path of learning. Sadly, our education system has never acknowledged this. and they only know how to blame students who don't work hard. Back to the main issue, in an era where kindness is increasingly fading, perhaps only those who have experienced suffering have kindness towards those in the same situation. Finally, I want to remind you that since it's called a risky investment, there's definitely risk. Vong Tam may take the money to gamble or may not help you after he succeeds, that's the risk. But if the benefits far outweigh the risks, then this investment may be the best investment in your life.